On April 5th, 2016, we traveled to Campo, California. We hitched a ride to the Mexican border to begin our journey. We looked north and started walking. Only 2,649 miles to go.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Sitting here having a snack break on the PCT. The desert was harsh. Everything wanted to either poke, stab, or bite. After 1 week on the trail, we were excited to reach our first 100-mile marker. Foggy mornings would give way to clear blue skies. Sunrises bathed the land with golden light, and the days would end with fiery sunsets. Climbing Mount San Jacinto, we encountered the first of much snow to come. The reward was a great campsite. We had a beautiful sunset and a great view of the city lights of Hemet in the valley below. There was exactly one McDonald's near the PCT, and Keith knew exactly how to get me there. As we hiked north past LA, we could see clouds over Long Beach to the west and the hot, arid desert floor to the east. After a 3,500-foot climb to the top of Mount Baden-Powell, we enjoyed panoramic views. And then, nap time. While zeroing at the Acton KOA, a coworker visited with pizza and treats, which we devoured. From there, we continued north through the Vasquez Rocks. After 500 miles, we dropped down to the desert floor again. We walked along the Los Angeles Aqueduct, a massive pipe carrying water through this waterless land. After 17 miles of hot, dirt road walking, we entered the land of giant wind turbines. We would walk and camp amongst these whirring, humming giants for the next 70 miles.
Windy weather.
Mile 600 marked the beginning of the end of the desert. For the past 600 miles, we had lived water source to water source, depending on a water report. Sometimes the sources were questionable at best. We looked forward to entering the Sierra with its abundant water, but first we had to cross the last 100 miles of desert. We had finally arrived at Kennedy Meadows, gateway to the Sierra. Resupplying
Packing up for
the next 8 days to Kearsarge Pass. We replaced our worn-out shoes, stocked up on calories, and relaxed for a few days.
So what are we doing?
Get back to the trail.
Leaving Candy Meadows.
Yep. Our 2-day zero. While I stayed behind, Keith and a small group set out at 2 a.m. to summit Mount Whitney.
So we left Crabtree Meadows maybe, 30 minutes ago, headed towards Wallace Creek. Where are we headed? Which is where? You're doing good. Working our way up.
The remaining 7 High Sierra passes each proved to be uniquely challenging, testing our limits with each step. Our pace slowed to less than 1 mile per hour.
Putting the spikes on again. Now that we get a better idea of what we have to go down. Aftermath we're passing. So I just got across Seldom Pass and it started thundering and now it's hailing.
Between passes, the snowmelt fed raging streams with few bridges, presenting another water challenge. The reward for conquering these challenges were vistas few people will ever see in person. After the grueling High Sierra, it was time for a double zero.
There's cheeseburgers.
And then it was time to get back on the trail. We were finally nearing the end of the snow in the High Sierra with only Sonora Pass left.
So I think we're at the high point of Sonora before we drop down.
After crossing countless snowfields for 300 miles, I slipped and tumbled down a steep slope, fortunately missing 2 rock outcroppings. We met a trauma nurse and her boyfriend at the trailhead. They kindly provided assistance and drove us to Sonora for medical attention. After several days of rest and recovery, it was time to get back on the trail. We were still 1,500 miles away from Canada. After the Sierra, it was good to be walking on more dirt than snow. The streams were not raging. The wildflowers were blooming. And we were able to start making serious miles again. We ended the segment with a pit stop in Sierra City, where we resupplied. We took much needed showers, and of course, ate as much as we could. After a 3,000-foot climb out of Sierra City, we were back up on the crest. We have a new appreciation for sturdy bridges. After 3 months and 8 days, we had reached the halfway point. Now it would be a race to the end. The 30-mile dry stretch of Hat Creek Rim brought back desert memories, but some awesome trail magic made it more bearable. We spent a night at Bernie Falls Campground. Mount Shasta dominated our views. After a 31-mile day, we were desperate for a campsite and set up next to a logging road. In the morning, as we were taking our tent down, we found out what uses the road and barely got out of the way as it drove over our tent site. Endless evergreen-covered mountains surrounded Mount Shasta. We crossed the final mile marker in California. The Northern California summer continued to be hot and hazy, which made for gorgeous sunrises and sunsets. The days became shorter and we left Mount Shasta behind us as we neared the Oregon border.
All right.
After almost 4 months on the trail, we were finally out of California. Now that we were in Oregon, it was time to start cranking out at least 25 miles a day. Thankfully, we had the motivation of meeting our son Ryan and his girlfriend Carolyn at Crater Lake.
So what are we doing?
We're going to meet Ryan and Carolyn.
After 150 miles of Oregon forests and lakes, we reached Three Sisters Wilderness. We were surprised to find ourselves in an entirely new type of terrain. Our worn-out shoes provided little protection from the sharp and jagged rocks of the trail.
Oh,
Gosh.
are those? Oh, Oreos! Oh my gosh!
We could not believe we had reached the 2,000-mile mark. Had we really walked here from Mexico? Climbing Mount Hood, we were motivated by the best all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet on the entire PCT that we would be enjoying in the morning at Timberline Lodge. We camped a quarter mile from the lodge so we could arrive as soon as the buffet was open. All the other hikers had the same idea, so the waiting area was filled with backpacks and stinky hikers. If the staff could only see how we've been eating meals. The buffet lived up to its reputation, and we indulged for over 2 hours. Walking a bit slow, we still had a full day of hiking ahead of us. As we neared the Washington border, we had clear views of Mount St. Helens. We had pushed hard for over 650 miles without a zero to meet Ryan and Carolyn again in Portland. We resupplied for all of Washington and began the final state of our journey.
Lowest point on the PCT.
Washington lived up to its wet reputation. The ridges were often shrouded in mist and fog. The lowlands felt like a rainforest. Mushrooms and moss thrived.
So we just passed the 100-mile left point.
We arrived at Stehekin and picked up our last resupply. Stehekin lies at the head of Lake Chelan, and the only way to get there is by hiking, boat, or float plane. The weather had turned bad when we got back on the trail, but it improved the next day.
So our second to last day, hopefully. About, 50 miles to go to Manning Park. Been wet and rainy the last couple of days, and now it's snowing. It is our last morning.
Yes.
And
On the trail.
yes, and it was very cold last night.
Yes.
So we just got to the top of the last climb on the official PCT.
Yes.
Where it's, what, 7,116 feet. It's all downhill to the border from here. Here it is. Woo! Unreal.